You think being calm makes you powerful. That's the first mistake. Calmness without control is just silence. And silence without strategy is surrender. The emotion you're about to learn to control doesn't just change how people see you. It changes who controls the room. And right now, that's not you. Here's what nobody tells you. The people who control you aren't smarter. They are not more talented. They don't work harder. They just understand one thing you don't. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This comes straight from Machiavelli's The Prince and modern psychology. And it's going to feel uncomfortable. Good. That means it's working. We're breaking this down into 5 principles. Each one is a weapon. Each one separates the controlled from the controller. And by the end, you'll understand why respect has nothing to do with being good. 1. Anger is a confession. Machiavelli said it clearly. The man who loses his temper loses his position. Not because anger is wrong, but because it reveals too much. When you get angry, you're not expressing strength. You're confessing what controls you. You're showing exactly where you're vulnerable. And the people watching, they're taking notes. Think about it. Every time you react with anger, you're giving away your strategy. You're showing what hurts you, what threatens you, what you can't handle. That's not power. That's a blueprint for manipulation. The moment someone knows what makes you angry, they know how to move you. And once they can move you, they own you. Here's the truth. Anger doesn't intimidate people who understand power. It just shows them you're still controllable. You're still reactive. You're still operating on emotion instead of strategy. And that makes you predictable. Predictability is the fastest way to lose respect. Real-life example. Your coworker undermines you in a meeting. You snap back. You defend yourself with emotion. What happens? Everyone remembers your reaction, not their accusation. You just made yourself the problem. Now flip it. You stay calm. You pause. You respond with a single strategic question that exposes their weakness. Who wins? The person who controlled the emotion controlled the room. Strategic rule: never let anger show your hand. If you feel it, that's information. Use it. Don't display it. And this is where most people destroy themselves. They think controlling anger means suppressing it. Wrong. Suppression is just delayed explosion. Control means using it as fuel while showing ice on the surface. The emotion still drives you, but you're the only one who knows it. 2. The person who cares less controls more. Here's the trap nobody sees. You were taught that caring deeply shows character. And maybe it does. But it also shows desperation. And desperation is the weakest position in any relationship, negotiation, or conflict. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He said it's better to be feared than loved because fear doesn't require your emotional investment. Let me break that down. When you care too much about being liked, being right, or being validated, you hand over your leverage. You become manageable. You become the person who can be guilt-tripped, manipulated, or ignored because your emotional investment is visible. And visible investment is exploitable. Psychological truth. People don't respect what they can take for granted. They respect what they might lose. If you're always available, always accommodating, always emotionally present, you train people to devalue you. Not because you're weak, but because you've made yourself predictable again. And we already know what happens to the predictable. Real-life example. You're in a relationship. You're always the one reaching out. Always the one apologizing first. Always the one trying harder. What's the dynamic? You're chasing, and the person being chased controls the pace, the terms, the outcome. Now reverse it. You pull back. You stop performing emotional labor. Suddenly, they notice. They reach out. They adjust. Why? Because you stop making yourself the guaranteed option. Strategic rule: reduce visible investment. Increase strategic detachment. Most people fail right here. They think detachment means cruelty. It doesn't. It means you stop letting your emotions telegraph your position. You stop giving away your strategy through how much you care. You care, sure, but you care quietly, and you make them work to see it. 3. Silence is a power move most people waste. Machiavelli never said this directly, but his entire philosophy implies it. The one who speaks less controls the narrative more. Why? Because silence forces the other person to fill the void. And when people fill voids, they reveal themselves. They over-explain. They justify. They confess. All you did was stay quiet. Here's the thing. Most people can't handle silence. They treat it like empty space that needs to be filled with noise. They panic. They ramble. They try to smooth things over. And in doing so, they lose the upper hand. Silence isn't empty. It's pressure. And pressure creates mistakes. Psychological truth. Humans are wired to interpret silence as judgment. When you go quiet after someone speaks, their brain starts running scenarios. Did I say something wrong? Are they angry? Do they disagree? Are they disappointed? You didn't say a word, but you just made them question everything. That's control. Real life example. Someone criticizes you. Instead of defending yourself immediately, you pause. You look at them. You stay silent for 3, 4, 5 seconds. Watch what happens. They start backtracking. They soften their tone. They add context. They weaken their own position. You didn't argue. You didn't explain. You just refused to react on their timeline. And that shifted the power. Strategic rule. Let silence do the work your words can't. Listen closely to this part. Silence also protects you. The less you say, the less ammunition you give. The less you reveal, the harder you are to predict. And we've already established what happens when you're unpredictable. People can't control what they can't anticipate. 4. Emotional exposure is a liability. This next part separates the weak from the powerful. Machiavelli wrote that princes must learn to appear one way while being another. Not because deception is virtuous, but because emotional transparency in a world full of opportunists is suicide. If people see all of you, they know exactly how to hurt you. Let me show you something. Every time you share your fears, your struggles, your doubts with the wrong people, you're not building connection. You're building a catalog of weaknesses. And some people, maybe even most people, won't use that against you immediately, but they'll file it away. And when it benefits them, when they need leverage, when they want to diminish you, they'll pull it out. Psychological truth. Vulnerability is powerful with safe people, but most people aren't safe. They're neutral at best. And neutral people become opportunistic the moment it serves them. So when you expose your emotional state to everyone, you're not being authentic. You're being reckless. Real life example. You tell a colleague you're worried about job security. They nod. They sympathize. 3 months later, you're both up for the same promotion. Guess what gets mentioned in their conversation with the boss? Your uncertainty. Your doubt. Not as cruelty, just as fact. And facts shape perception. You gave them the tool. They used it. Strategic rule. Control who sees your interior. Protect your emotional territory like you'd protect your bank account. And here's the trap. Society romanticizes openness. Be yourself. Show your truth. Share your journey. And sure, that works in environments built on trust. But most environments aren't built on trust. They are built on competition, status, and survival. And in those spaces, emotional exposure without strategy is just handing out weapons. 5. Master the emotion. Master the interaction. Now you understand the game. Anger reveals you. Caring too much weakens you. Silence empowers you. Emotional exposure endangers you. So what's left? Mastery. Not suppression. Not pretending you don't feel. But complete control over when and how you let emotion influence your behavior. Machiavelli's entire framework rests on this. A prince who cannot control his emotions cannot control his kingdom. Not because emotions are wrong, but because uncontrolled emotions make you reactive. And reactive people are pawns, not players. The person who controls their emotional state controls the interaction. Always. Psychological truth. The brain that regulates emotion wins every negotiation, every conflict, every power struggle. Why? Because regulated emotion looks like confidence. It looks like authority. It looks like someone who's already won. And people instinctively submit to that energy. Not because they want to, but because the alternative, challenging someone that composed, feels dangerous. Real life example. 2 people in an argument. One is yelling. The other is calm, speaking slowly, almost dismissively quiet. Who do you think has the power? The calm one. Not because they are right, but because they are controlled. And control reads as dominance. The loud one looks desperate. Desperate is losing. Strategic rule. Emotion is fuel. Control is the engine. Never let the fuel run the engine. Think about it. Every major decision you regret, every relationship you lost, every opportunity you destroyed, happened because emotion drove and control slept. The times you won, the times you earned respect, you were calm. You were measured. You were strategic. That's not a coincidence. That's a law. This is the line between survivors and victims. Survivors understand that power doesn't come from how you feel. It comes from how you manage what you feel. Victims think authenticity means letting every emotion show, and they spend their lives wondering why people don't respect them. From this point forward, ignorance is no longer an excuse. You know the game now. Anger confesses. Caring less controls more. Silence precious. Exposure endangers. Mastery wins. These aren't motivational ideas. These are mechanisms. And mechanisms either work for you or against you. There's no third option. So what does this actually mean for you? Simple. Starting today, you stop performing emotions for validation. You stop reacting for the sake of being seen. You stop filling silence because it's uncomfortable. You start treating your emotional state like classified information. You share it strategically. You weaponize your calm. You make people work to read you. And here's what happens. People start treating you differently. Not because you changed who you are, but because you changed what they see. You became harder to predict, harder to manipulate, harder to dismiss. And in a world that rewards control, that makes you dangerous. Not loud dangerous, quiet dangerous. The kind people respect because they don't fully understand you. And they can't control what they don't understand. Let me be clear. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming strategic. You can still care. You can still feel. But you stop letting those things broadcast your next move. You stop letting emotion make you readable. Because readable people get used. Controlled people get discarded. But the person who masters this, they write the rules. Type "I choose strategic strength" in the comments. Not for me. For yourself. Say it publicly. Make it real. If this made you uncomfortable, good. It means you're waking up. Most people will watch this and do nothing. They'll nod. They'll agree. And then they'll go back to being controlled by the same emotions they refuse to master. Don't be most people. This is the edge. You're standing on it right now. On one side is everything you've been. Reactive. Visible. Controlled. On the other side is what you could become. Strategic. Regulated. Powerful. The choice is yours. But make it now. Because every second you wait, someone else is using these principles on you.